Off and on the clock. It's Tuesday afternoon, so you know the drill. Although today we got a little two-man game rolling, a little pick and roll action with John and myself. We're going to talk about some camp news, specifically some ADP battles between teammates. Which side are we on? The Matthew Goldens or Jayden Reeds, the Cam Skattebos or Tyrone Tracy? And then we'll let you guys decide what we're going to draft. I'm Pete with John. This is OOTC. Let's do it. All right. No Nez today on vacation. I actually don't even know where's Nez on vacation. Do we know?
Yeah. Beaches in Virginia. What's the common? Yeah. There's like a little peninsula or something like that. They go there as a family.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure if I know any specific ones in Virginia there. Shout out to the chat. GMs. What up? GMs. Whether you're watching on the Badge Bros channel or the Pete Overs at YouTube channel, we appreciate you guys being here. Every Tuesday, we talk a little shop, the latest news, and then we draft. We've, over the course of the summer, I believe dabbled in basically every single contest or variation of contest that Underdog has dropped. And now, though, John, we are in the thick of it. Like I had the moment, when I was drafting some of these teams, it's like, oh, I kept talking about getting cheaper Jordan Addison, when the suspension hits, or all these angles that I've been thinking about in my head. Now is the time. Like now's the time to capitalize on things. I'm ready to move on a lot of these rookies that are now coming into our lives who are maybe off the menu earlier in the season. Are you feeling the heat of training camp in your drafts?
I'm feeling the heat of I better get 150 in and everything right now. I'm less of the slow clock guy. I've been trying to kind of like back weight some of these fasts, and I take a look down at my BBM the other day, and it's like, ooh, I only got 50 of those done. Take a look at my Badge Bros Brawls. I only got 60 of those done. So I'm gonna have to start full court pressing here in general. Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on all the news and stuff. I get really excited when actual football is on the TV. I am one of those guys who watches a little bit of the preseason and enjoys that. So I watched majority of the Hall of Fame game there on Thursday night, and that does get me excited about like this whole time and the whole training camp and the whole live. I take more from that live football action and what's going on in those games than any of these kind of like training camp nuggets and whatnot. So that's what's getting me excited this week.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because, I mean, obviously any extreme I think is bad, like not reacting or overreacting. I think for my personal play style over the years, I've been guilty of underreacting where I think it's with two effects. It's one kind of like waving. It's like, oh, this unheralded 7th round rookie, is he really going to make an impact? I famously, I remember, and I always circulate it occasionally. Like I wrote about Tank Dell and Puka Nacua in the same Fantasy Life newsletter post from May of the year they broke out. And it's like, both these guys keep making waves at early stuff. And I just like waved. I'm like, nah, they don't have enough draft capital. I don't see it or whatever. So I'm like, I have to actually force myself not to wave stuff. And I think I also get anchored to some of the ADP stuff. I get anchored to like, oh, I really like these guys. And now it's like, oh, he's slipping in drafts. It's like, oh, I like Pat Bryant. He's slipping now to, pick 190. Oh, got to get the value. And it's like, I have to force myself to be more intentional about getting these new guys on the menu and not being anchored to stuff. So that's kind of my cross to bear right now.
That's a little bit of an interesting segue. Two things. One, I threw a tweet this week of like no one was on Puka and Kyron all off season long until the bitter end last year, and like who those guys could be for us this year. Like the theoretical exercise of the Puka and Kyron is so much better on paper than in actual practice. And that kind of stems into what I think I'm going to do for Solver Series this week is just randomly pull up some boards from last year and just show like, because we kind of lose sight of it because everything's all rose-colored glasses right now with those back-end picks. We kind of lose sight of like how many true X out zero value guys there are from round 15 to 18 in every single BBM draft. So I think I'm going to kind of do an exercise where you bring up the board and literally just X these guys out who were non-contributors last year. And that's in tandem with what you're saying there is that like I underreact as well because I wasn't jumping up and down to get Tank Dell and Puka that season. And when I did, it was too late to do so. So yeah, isolating some of those guys that could be those guys this year is good exercise.
And because the whole thing, like early on in the season, when we talk about avoiding zeros and all of that. That is because we know there's all these upside selections late in the draft. We just don't have any good information that they actually have a high probability of hitting those upside scenarios.
Right.
And then as we get finally some information, some depth charts, some preseason games, we now can like slightly increase the probability that someone is going to be a hit or not. It's still not any guarantee, obviously, but the probability does increase. And to me, that's like, I always think, what can I do in drafts now that I wasn't willing to do or couldn't even fathom, like in May, as opposed to just drafting derivatives of the teams I was drafting. Now, again, the flip side of that is like, well, sometimes you're bored and you're like, oh, like I clicked Garrett Wilson so much in June and May, and now I'm like skipping over for him, a bunch just because I've been bored with clicking that. You also don't want to like do that too much. Like you want to build the strongest team. So it is a juggling act for sure.
Oh yeah, it's an impossible perfection, right? Like that's why we fall in love with the labor of these games, is because we don't know what's right now, right? And getting out of our skis with definitively knowing what is right now, it's a constant balancing act.
Let's talk about some of these camp battles going on. I feel like I mentioned in the cold open, two of them that have been in the news lately. We obviously had the annual Packers, friends and family practice night where the snaps for Matthew Golden were very bullish, using him all over. Reed not there in two wide receiver sets. And then we have this Cam Skattebo setback as well, which is very interesting considering him and Tyrone Tracy have been hovering around similar ADPs here. So any thoughts on these camp battles and what news is doing to either of them?
Yeah, I mean, the Golden one is obviously extremely bullish from like staying on the field purpose as a rookie with the X receiver spot, because we talked so much about like how they could just rotate, right? And they did last year. They rotated, Wicks and Watson and Dobbs in that same spot over and over again. But if they just have their set it and forget it, leave it on the field guy, and we expect that pass rate to be better this year than last, especially if we don't get those Malik Willis starts in there, like that's a lot of fun for me. Like I've loved the idea of buying into Reed because of all the gadgety stuff that he can do. And he he low-key still had 1,000 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns last year. Like that's nothing to sneeze at pick 70 something. But yeah, this Golden hype train has me flipping those two for sure. I was a little balanced to begin with between the two of them. I have a decent amount of both, but I think I'd probably lean team Golden right now just because the opportunity of staying on the field.
That's where I'm at. Like I'm still a big firm believer that I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think Golden is the better bet right now in the one I want to take first. Also, he's the one that's naturally going to move on this news. Reed will likely get cheaper. But to me, I am not saying Jayden Reed is undraftable, because I still think the bet on Golden is a bet on Love. It's a bet on the entire offense passing way more than they did last year. And if they do that, there's going to be more than one beneficiary in the offense. So I actually still think Golden and Reed are very correlated. And I think in people's minds and sometimes these camp battle situations, and yes, at running back, they are often way more negatively correlated. But in this case, like at that, what is it? 7-6-7 turn. Now, like I've done it and I'm completely open to double tapping both Golden and Reed because I want to be in on the Packers this year.
That's actually a fun way to do it because I don't think I've double tapped them yet. I end up taking like one of them. And then when Love comes back on the other side of the board later, I do like Love and Tucker Kraft with the one of them. I rarely do two of them and then leave myself open to not getting Love back. But yeah, you have less people to fight with to get Love back there. So that's something I should start mixing in for sure. I don't know, from a real life like football standpoint, I low-key love like the pettiness of Golden here with like the number 22. It looks awful on the field, but just like the fact that like, oh, how many guys were drafted in front of me? Yeah, give me that number. Like I love that petty shit. And I also love from a real world football standpoint that like LaFleur's had 2 years to be like, Jayden Reed, let's make him into that dude. And he hasn't made him into that dude. He's treated him like glorified Curtis Samuel, where it's like we can get him stuff out of the slot. We can get him touches in space. We can get him backfield carries. but he's not our like go-to guy. And that's been, pretty open for like about a year and a half now. So yeah, flipping our mindset to Golden over him right now feels good.
What about Skattebo? We have kind of this vague reporting on the injury. Dayball's been referring to it as a setback. Because I was writing it up in the newsletter, and they've only called it like a leg injury. It seems like it's most likely a hamstring and a re-aggravation there, but the details are a little few and far between. And of all these stuff, like we talk about veterans and these, injuries, AJ Brown's dealing with a hamstring. It's like the rookies are the ones I actually really want to pay attention to, because if they don't get this opportunity to earn the coach's trust, to get those reps, that really can derail a fast start for them. So the Skattebo one is spooking me a little bit. I know you're on the Skattebo train as well. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously not great, and I'm going to have to kind of pump the brakes a little bit there, because I was looking at my PBM exposures this morning and I already had 35% through 60 or 55 something drafts in BBM. So yeah, I might have to be pumping the brakes there a little bit, maybe buy the dip ever so slightly, because I like him. I like him as a prospect. I like him from all three down perspective. I did find it interesting that, in this time that he's been off, first of all, MRI coming back clean reported this morning. So that's like somewhat bullish. It sounds like he's not going to play this weekend, which is, kind of unfortunate, but could also be a by the dip standpoint, because if other people start spiking in preseason over this weekend and we see like a nice outing from like JCM, for instance, or something like that, people are going to get more bullish on other guys and less bullish on the guys they don't see with their own eyes. Right. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't love the fact that he's a rookie and he's not going to be out there, especially when we saw so much from Tracy last year. This definitely not definitely, but in my mind solidifies Devin Singletary's roster spot a little bit more. So many people were talking about him potentially like being reunited with the Texans and jumping into that mix of Chubb and Woody Marks and stuff if Mixon's not ready to go. So maybe my biggest takeaway right now is that some of the Texans back end stuff got a little safer by Singletary staying on the roster here. But I'm by no means out on Skattebo, especially when like things are trending right with the health stuff. But I'm definitely gonna have to pump the brakes.
Yeah, and I think the hard part about it goes back to the ADP anchoring. And, even if you get a perceived value dip, let's say Skattebo's, before he was even falling to 120, now you get the setback. Will he fall to 125, 130? I think it's a real conversation to be like, is he that much better of a bet than Dylan Sampson, who is also a 4th round rookie? Is he that much better of a bet than Jayden Blue, who is a 5th round rookie who now is getting really nice camp reviews? I think I'm going to write about that for the Fantasy Life newsletter tomorrow. And just because those guys have lower ADPs, it still feels like there's a difference between them. And I'm like, would I be better off? Probably. I'm a little lighter on Blue, the ADP, I think, than I am Skattebo. Like just pulling up Blue, pulling up Sampson, and just letting Skattebo fall, knowing that the ADP is essentially fake right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's effectively exactly what I've done in a couple of these Batch Bros Brawl drafts, where I take a 5th or 6th running back as a scroll the F down to mix in with those stud upper echelons. I was doing a little bit of Skattebo in that contest because nobody else was in parentheses. Now I've been doing a little bit of Blue. I've been doing a little bit of Tank Bigsby. So I've just kind of pivoted a little bit in that same regard there. I do think the Blue one was on my list here to do the same kind of segment right now with the Javonte and Jayden Blue. Like, can we just flip those two right now? Like, can you just take Jayden Blue at RB40 and just not waive Javonte?
I think you can. I still do think like the most likely scenario is one of Javonte or Miles Sanders is like the back they try to establish it with at the start of the season. And the guys on ADP chasing, we're talking about this with like Ja'Cory Crossett-Merritt too, where it's like we're all excited about him and I think he's an awesome pick. But still, the most likely thing is he's doing essentially nothing at the beginning of the season. And then, there's a little injury or he gets on the field and is explosive. And then that like door opens up and then boom, starts to get more there. I think that's what it's going to be like with Jayden Blue too. So I've been more fixated on like the gap between Javonte and Miles Sanders, which has made Javonte like undraftable for me. So yes, taking Blue over Javonte, I have like zero issue with that. I think Javonte really has been kind of the price that's been hardest for me to grapple with. And now that we're starting to get the positive stuff on blue, I don't know why we can't think of him like Skattebo, like Tootin, like Dylan Sampson. I think he belongs in that conversation.
Yeah, no, well said. I'm in complete lockstep with you there. I mean, he also just has like an exciting profile, right? Like this team could just throw a shit ton. If Parsons is gone, their defense could be awful too. They could be in shootouts all the time, and you get like this fast pass catching running back in space. And the only reason we ever pumped the brakes in the first place because one dude said he had bad work ethic on a podcast one time.
Yeah. And I also think like you do the zoom out thing and like, what is the stuff we look back on and we're like, oh yeah, like Dallas who adds George Pickens and has this improved offense and has this wide open depth chart at running back. And the most explosive youngest player in their backfield ended up being the guy you wanted down the stretch. Like that would shock no one, literally no one. It seems almost so obvious to even say out loud.
Yeah, you want to go comp guy on that in the easiest way possible. It's Chase Brown on an explosive throw first offense last year as well, or it's Bucky Irving on the Bucks last year. Like very similar thesis. Both teams expected to have bad defenses. Both teams going to be up tempo. Both teams going to throw a whole lot, and both teams with ambiguous depth chart backfields.
Yep. Yeah, it's so funny because this is the I think the Jayden Blue stuff is actually a good illustration of like camp noise versus camp signal, right? Where we had the report from the guy who's not even like technically affiliated with the team anymore saying he was lazy. And like now the coaches and the beats and everybody's like glowing about him. I mean, the quote was, but lately Blue has been standing out more and more to the point he's been getting some first team reps when given the opportunity. He's been taking care of the football, showcasing his speed, athleticism, and quality hands. Each day that goes by, Blue appears to be getting more and more comfortable with the offense and speed of the NFL game. So yeah, that one of those of like, we were very quick to over-index on like a single data point or whatever, but that was a good example of considering the source, getting more data points there, and actually seeing which one makes sense to act on.
Yeah, absolutely. Pete, I got another one here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I got a couple, but I think this one's really interesting right now. You guys, I didn't see all of Swolecast, but you guys touched on like the Hunter stuff and what's going on with that quote today, and like, you know, maybe the implications that, you know, Brian Thomas and him being more of 1A and 1B than as clear cut as it is right now. The one that I want to talk about is Buffalo, man, with this Khalil Shakir high ankle injury there. And then just the fact that, you know, Dawson Knox hasn't been playing, Samuel's hurt, and Elijah Moore hurt in parentheses, banged up, probably fine for week one. Khalil Shakir is kind of like the number one guy to worry about. And then James Cook, obviously, with the hold in kind of situation. So we have this pocket of ADPs of Dalton Kincaid, Ray Davis, and Joshua Palmer that are all like 8 to 12 picks apart there. Obviously, 3 different positions. But this is the offense that's projected to score the most amount of points in football in a large number of models this year. And I can't pinpoint a skill position player that I'm happy selecting right now. Am I wrong about that? Is this 3-man tier something we should be vaulting up and getting after right now?
Yeah. It is a tough situation. I think I was listening to the guys on ADP Chasing talking about it a little bit. I was inclined to agree with Karain that Kincaid seems like the best beneficiary here. I feel like Palmer's role, the way I've been thinking about it, I feel like he's going to be like Mac Hollins plus in this offense. And I feel like that's going to be fairly solidified. I'm definitely skeptical of the Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel stuff. I'm sure they'll get reps, right? If Shakir misses time, but to me, the guy who could actually consolidate and be kind of a surprise target hog just seems like Kincaid. I mean, that's the guy where he and Shakir were already kind of operating in that similar area of the field last year. Of course, the elephant in the room is, does Kincaid suck? Which, you know, everything up to this point seems like yes, but just like X's and O's wise, doesn't Kincaid seem like the best beneficiary of a Shakir injury?
Yes, I think so. I think there's one problem with Kincaid is everybody knows he can't really block. So he's kind of like they telegraph exactly what they're doing with him on the field. But I would tend to agree with you. He's a guy that's underrepresented in my portfolio right now. So I definitely want to start mixing that one in. You mentioned Mac Hollins there. 5 touchdowns last year, nothing to sneeze at, I guess, but not exactly what we're looking for at pick like 145, 146 with like Joshua Palmer. If he gives us like 605, like, are we even happy with that? Like, probably not in that range. So yeah, I think also the position, not scarcity element, but just filling a tight end slot opposed to filling wide receiver 6, that does feel like kind of like the best bet of the bunch.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, it is a spot to pay attention to. I guess the other thing we didn't mention as far as these guys, even though stylistically, I don't know if he's like the beneficiary, but man, like Keon Coleman's going to get a shot. I mean, they're going to really have to try to make it work with him. And I don't know. I'm certainly interested in it. He has been going a little earlier. I think now with the Shakir stuff, he used to always be there in the early 100s, and now I'm noticing more and more like I'm on the clock in the hundreds, and he is no longer there. But I also have some interest in tilting exposure to him because it's almost like we now have a multi-year sample on Dalton Kincaid. We still just have a smaller 1-year sample on Keon Coleman. He was also, I did this thing last year where I was looking at some work that Blair Andrews had did at RotoViz on the youngest players in the league. And it was Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman, along with Neighbors, were the 3 on the youngest side for the rookies, and how the younger those guys are, and when they have that high draft capital, they have a higher chance of breaking out. And it makes sense too. Like Keon Coleman's younger than a lot of the other second-year wide receivers. So there still is that chance in his development that there's a little bit more there. So he's another guy I do want to try to start clicking more.
Yeah, to your point there, he's up to 99.6 in terms of ADP right now. Can we flip him and Shakir now? We're talking about wide receiver 47 and wide receiver 52. They're 15 spots apart right now, but is that something you would consider, or is this not that far yet?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to say the other side of the Shakir stuff, they say he's week to week. He had a very similar ankle injury last year. I think it was Jeff Mueller even posted the splits when he came back from it. His production was nearly identical. I guess the counter then would be, well, is it worse this time now that it's the second go around with this ankle injury? But it is also easy to just say, hey, we're playing in a contest that rewards week 15 through 17. Even if Shakir is a slow starter, you can survive that. But I do think a lot of the ways I was using Shakir in my builds and why I had so much of them is because I was going a little running back heavy, getting those elite tight ends. I was drafting guys like Shakir because I wanted that floor of production early to help buoy a weaker wide receiver room. So the thesis of the Shakir click, which isn't this huge spike week ceiling in weeks 15 to 17, that the main part of the thesis is taking a hit. So I do actually think Shakir, we should be thinking about him differently than say we do like, a Brandon Ayuk, right? Where it's like, you weren't necessarily drafting him for his like floor. You were drafting him because it's like, he could be the guy scoring 25 plus points, 15 through 17 for the Niners, where none of us are drafting Shakir for 25 plus points, 15 through 17.
No, yeah, well said there. I think Keon Coleman gives you more of that archetype of potentially 25. Yeah, after. So yeah, and Mookie's got a good point in the chat there that I'm seeing too. Like the high ankle sprains, especially slot wide receivers, linger all season. Look no further than Cooper Kupp last year, right? Or Cooper Kupp in the Puka breakout year there. So yeah, and to your point there, Pete, I was just looking up and then I was trying to find the draft class from this year to pit it against. But Keon Coleman just turned 22 on May 17th. Like he could easily have been drafted this year and or next and still been like the proper age for the class.
Exactly. It is crazy. Yeah. And like, Xavier Worthy was a little snake bitten with bad luck, always stepping out of bounds and stuff. But, and not saying Keon Coleman is the same as Xavier Worthy because they were very, very different prospects, but it just goes to show you have a little extra wiggle room on the super young guys from a developmental standpoint. It's when these 24-year-old rookies come in, it's like, you better fucking dominate out of the gate because there's no other meat on the bone for you to kind of, blossom as a player. And these young guys, it's like they were beating up on players who were older than them for most of their college career, like is generally how it works with the young guys, which is always a very bullish indicator. So yeah, I'm going to try to be getting more Kincaid and Coleman in the coming days. Any other camp battles on your radar?
Yeah, I found the ages thing just real quick though.
Yeah,
He is the same age as Golden. He's the same age as Tetaroa. He's 1 day younger than Travis Hunter. So
that's
I mean,
wild.
like he's the same age as just Jaden Higgins. Like he could effectively be in this class this year. He just happens to have 1 full year of 13 games started under his belt. So yeah, interesting stuff there. Maybe you pick which one you want to talk about, and then we can hop in a draft here. I wrote down the Mason versus Aaron Jones one just because of the Mason reporting recently. I wrote down the Jennings and Pearsall one. The Jags backfield flippening was noteworthy to me. And then maybe if you had any thought on the Hunter Brian Thomas, like should they be that far apart? I don't know. Just pick your favorite of those ones.
I think the Mason and Aaron Jones is a fun conversation as their ADPs keep getting closer and closer, where I think like a lot of the selling point of Mason was like, oh, there is a gap and you're able to get like a little arbitrage. The new guy they bring in could have the path to goal line carries, yada, yada. As that price gets closer, I have been thinking about it more critically lately of like, are we out over our skis a little bit with the Mason stuff, even despite the reporting of like, this is going to be, a tandem backfield here. Because I still think like, to me, like Mason almost, and it's probably not the right word choice. I was going to say like an insurance policy, which isn't fair because he's going to have a role, but I still think in their heart of hearts, they want Aaron Jones to be the guy Aaron Jones was when they signed him, like what he was for Green Bay in those playoff stretches where it's like 20 plus carries, explosive, catches passes, like does everything. I think in their dream world, Aaron Jones just does that. But he struggled with fumbles. He struggled staying healthy. And so it's like, how do we bring in someone that allows us to continue to run our offense? And you get a grinder, you get a workhorse type guy like Mason to solidify that backfield. But that's just me kind of talking it through, saying like, now that the prices are similar, I want to try to be loading up on more Jones, I think.
Yeah, I feel similarly to you. I think I prefer Aaron Jones. I prefer the role of Aaron Jones. The comps that keep getting thrown out are like the classic Mark Ingram and Kamara, or the Gibbs and Montgomery that like, Jordan Mason isn't small, right? He's 5'11", 220 plus, right? And he can be like the goal line guy, but he didn't really have much success last year in that role when he had a role entirely to himself. Like, he only had 3 rushing touchdowns last year. Like, I think maybe we overstate how productive Jordan Mason was last year because he was such a good 0 RB pick. Like he was a great pick relative to his draft capital, but he wasn't like that great as a football player last year. He was basically just handed the CMC role all into himself, and he chewed up some yardage, but like, maybe positive touchdown regression for him if he ran that sample again. But I think I'm on the Aaron Jones side of this pendulum right now too.
Yeah. And I still think like if everything, what we've seen too from like KOC and how we know he wants to pass, we know he wants to be up tempo. I don't think he wants to be grinding out games with Jordan Mason. I think stylistically, Aaron Jones probably fits more with his ideal version of the offense. Obviously there's going to be situations where they're up a lot and they can run the ball. But I still think the ideal for him would be up tempo, Aaron Jones, all of that stuff. And then what was the other one you mentioned there before we draft?
The San Francisco kind of pass catchers is kind of an evergreen one. Jags backfield as well. Like, is it a buy the dip on Tootin season now, or what do you think?
I mean, I was so heavy on Tootin that I'm using this opportunity to catch up on Tank while he still inches up and his price is still the cheapest of all 3. So it's like, that just seems like a green light of like, hey, we're getting consistent reports. Tank has been the guy at camp. And it's one thing if they're the most expensive one and you're like, okay, like, do I want to keep loading up? But it's like, he's still the cheapest one here. Obviously in some drafts, he'll go ahead of Tootin. But that just seems like take advantage of that, again, hanging fake ADP while it's there. And I already have a bag of Tootin. I can still continue to get him at good prices there. But how are you playing that spot?
Yeah, man, I just kind of like, I like the offense. I want to be in on the offense as a whole. I don't want to be the guy who just plays whack-a-mole with a dead roster spot. So I've kind of just been soft fading. I take Tank if he's still there in like the Ramondre, Javonte, like that kind of range. I'll vault him up there. Maybe you can make the argument that you vault him up over the Spears and Skattebo spot right now. But in general, like I don't have like a huge stance. I had more Tootin than all of them, like you. But yeah, I mean, even my Tootin exposure was like 7%. Like it was just like, glorified exposure blanket at this point in time.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, the only other thing I want to be careful with, and I think I kind of mentioned this when we were talking about how to handle some of the exposure stuff, is like, I really still feel strongly about Tootin being the guy you want 15 through 17. And I don't just want all of my August teams to not have him. Like, because you think about, it's like you want to catch up on exposures, you want to balance, you want to take advantage of new information, but you also just don't want all of your specific exposure to one to be like May and June teams, because part of the benefit of now is we're getting new information. We're going to have less dead roster spots late. It's like, yeah, I want Tootin on some of those teams too. And again, it goes back to that push-pull of accomplishing your like portfolio goals, but still mixing in the guys you really strongly have conviction on and making sure they're a part of your entire season's portfolio.
Yeah, well said, Pete. Yeah, that's something that we've talked about so much in the daily contest, right? It's like, oh, you got this play you love early in the week, and then you kind of, it catches up in ADP, and then Friday rolls around, and all the combos of your scroll the F down gem that you've now found that is your conviction play for the week is not tethered to the one in which you were drafting earlier in the week because you tried to balance yourself out.
Yep. All right, should we ask the chat what we should draft? We can do kind of like an informal poll in here. I'll go to the lobby. Obviously, there's BBM, there's Sprint, there's Marathon, there's Eliminator, there's Big Dog, there's Palm, there's Husky, there's Badge Bros Brawl, there's new MMG's Best Ball League, weekly winners there. So let's see, what would you guys like us to draft? Husky could be fun. I still have spots in that. As the votes come in, I will mention, John. So yeah, our friend Michael Dubner put out a tweet. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. Because he keeps track of how long his slow drafts take. He also is eyeing when the clocks go from 8 hours to 4 hours for the slow drafts, and was basically calling yesterday, the last day to mostly ensure that you don't end up with any slow drafts on a shortened clock. So I took a deep breath and I almost full sent it in the Eliminator. Your boy was in 75 slows that I added yesterday to ensure that I can max out the Eliminator this year.
That is nasty work, Pete. I did see I saw the Dubner tweet. I did recognize the circumstance in which I was in, and I saw how strongly those, in particular, weekly winners and Eliminator had been filling. And I went ahead and made sure I got up to 50 in both of those. So, yes, I did the same. So we're going to be in a lot of fucking drafts together.
I know. That's the only unfortunate thing, that fucking tweet, which was a great PSA. But then it's like, I see John Boy and all of mine. I see Nez. I see all these other people who are doing the same thing of like, oh, thanks for the reminder. It's go time. So, yes, I have officially joined either Slow Draft Hell or Slow Draft Heaven, depending on your point of view. But like, I don't know, man. I had that moment where, do I want to be on the clock all the time? No. Do I want to be maxed in the Eliminator? And I was like, I'm going to give my future self this gift. In the season, when not as much is going on, I'm going to want to have these 150 bullets in the Eliminator.
Yeah, the Eliminator sweat is going to be unparalleled in my estimation. Like, weekly winners is a lot of fun, but it's kind of an afterthought. Like, you do it all, and then you check in and you see, oh, holy shit, did I win? Did I win some money? Whereas the Eliminator, I think people are going to be way more tethered to the look at the lineup across from me. what am I facing this week? What am I sweating? What am I fading? What am I playing for? And being really invested in that. And if you have a couple of those run deep, I think that could truly be the best sweat experience on the platform.
Yep, that's exactly where I'm at. John, let me read you some of these votes here, and then you kind of bro science-wise tell me which one got the most votes. Weekly winners, Husky, Alim, BBM, Alim, and Husky. Probably just going to have time for one today, guys. Husky, Alim, Badge Bros Brawl. Weekly winners. Those were the votes there. Seems close between Husky and Alim, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think it's Husky season. You got enough limbs on the clock right now. That sounded like people wanted a time box. People wanted the $40 price point to have an opportunity to join us.
Okay, let's do it. I am going to enter here 4 people if you guys want to come and draft a Husky with us.
We could do Eliminator later.
Okay.
Like another day here. Hopefully it stays up it'll still be up next Tuesday, I believe. So that'll be good.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, I'm not gonna fully max via slows right now because I want to still have some. Why did I just screen shared StreamYard?
The Matrix there. That's like into the portal.
It's the Hall of Mirrors. Because I still want to be able to do some fast draft eliminators too. So I was like trying to get the sweet spot of making sure I got a good chunk of it via slows, but still could do some here. All right, we got the 111, a spot. I like a good deal, so that's nice.
Yeah, I like to back into draft boards here. Here's a natural way to have our Brian Thomas conversation and the Travis Hunter, because I've infamously kind of had this stance that the Travis Hunter is or could potentially be like Shohei Ohtani in one bad respect, where he is exponentially increasing his ability to get injured in the sport by playing both sides of the ball, and we only receive fantasy points for one side of said ball being played, right? So yeah, I don't know. My exposures, I'll admit, my exposures don't line up with this take because I have 14% Hunter right now, and I have more Hunter than I do any other Jag. But I just kind of am thinking out loud here and need to be talked into the sense that, are we out over our skis that both of these guys can coexist at their ADPs? Are we out over our skis that Brian Thomas is this much better than Travis Hunter? Or could the inverse be true? Or are we just adequately bullish on, Liam Cohen coming to this team?
You know what? I still think it's, some elements of this conversation have been beaten to death. And so part of it, I'm like, I don't have the enthusiasm for part of the discussion, but I think there are a few things that you hit on there that are still very interesting to me of people just want to focus it all through the lens of Travis Hunter. And I'm more curious here. Yeah. Let's make some picks here. Should we get just BTJ on this team so we can use this as a continuation to talk about this? All right, let's put him on here.
I think in a vacuum, I take Amon-Ra ahead and I take HN ahead, but outside of that, I'm good with it.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is if you are out on the Hunter stuff for whatever reason it is, and you can come up with a lot of reasons, how are you playing that fragility? Obviously, Brian Thomas is an obvious one. But it's honestly one of the reasons why I continue to be okay here. Do you want to take HN here?
Yeah, I like him a lot this year.
Me too. One of the reasons I continue to take De'Ami Brown late, not at an insane clip, but he was one of my favorite kind of late round stuff, is because I think that's a way to play the fragility of the Hunter stuff. If he is playing more defense, if he gets hurt, De'Ami Brown is going to be on the field a shit ton in those instances. So to me, that's one way to kind of be able to actually take advantage of a take where you think he's not going to be as involved. But yeah, I do think if Hunter is really good, that could eat into Brian Thomas's volume. Now, could he offset that with increased efficiency? He's getting one-on-one looks And it's like teams were already starting to double team Brian Thomas last year. And now you're going to have to single him up because Travis Hunter's so good. Like, I do think that's where being overly precise could get you in trouble, because Travis Hunter could legitimately be a bad thing for Brian Thomas's target volume. It's still, the offense could be so good and so multiple that everybody eats.
Yeah, it's weird to have this conversation about that offense, but then have a super bullish conversation about Dallas with George Pickens coming to town. Because isn't it kind of like just a more known commodity of the exact same situation?
Right. Where, I mean, everybody's fully comfortable taking
fully
Pickens and Lamb.
Yeah.
Everybody's fully comfortable taking Chase and Higgins. It's like, once you prove you're good, we don't care about those wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 distinctions. But it's when we don't know for a fact that you're good that we like to nitpick them.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Pete, can you switch to the tab view on the
what?
Chrome
Sorry,
one?
I was just resizing
on the browser. Like, so like is it Chrome?
Yeah, I'm in Chrome.
Yeah, just like switch to the tab view to get rid of the URL bar so it fills the.
Hang on one sec. I'm still fixing. I was changing the overlay here.
Okay.
And but yeah, here we go. Sorry, I have like StreamYard like capped me on my like layout, so then I'm having to like adjust them live between certain shows. But yeah, so are you what in your heart of hearts, like what's your true serum? Are you nervous on one of them?
Yeah, my true serum is I'm really nervous on Travis Hunter playing enough snaps on offense to oversee the risk of him playing defense. But then my bro science IQ meme is just kind of like, yo, he played the most snaps in college the last couple of years and stayed healthy. Why not just stay healthy again? So yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay, we're back on the clock here. I'm still on board with JSN, Evans, McLaurin. What do you want to do?
I'm JSN here, I think.
Yeah. Definitely on board with that.
I like JSN, and then I like Kyron over Brees. I can't remember who I saw on the timeline today. Like, obviously, Kyron just got that extension, 3 years, 33 whatever million, and then all the narratives that the Rams draft a running back every damn year, and it doesn't impact the person who's the starter every damn year as well. I'm still team Kyron over Brees, but I don't think like the money factor of that contract is like the reason why, you know?
Yeah. Evans goes, I would say Daniels or Tedoroa.
Yeah, good with either. You pick between the two.
I've been trying to mix in a little more Jayden Daniels here.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, my portfolio right now is definitely lacking the elite quarterbacks. Especially as the price goes up. And it's funny because we all noted that the price will end up going up as there's ambiguity in the third round, as values shift, as recreationals jump in the pool. And yet I didn't, buy the early price point hard enough, I don't think.
Yeah, and for me, it's like my favorite clicks in this range have, like, I don't have new favorite clicks in here. Like, have a big bag of McMillan and Worthy, and those would be the guys I would normally take there. And again, in the spirit of not building the same teams over and over again, Daniels and Allen and Lamar are the guys that I would like to start taking, as opposed to these wide receivers that I just clicked a bunch early on. The way to middle it, like the best feeling is like Hampton in middle of round 3, because it's like we've gotten some good information. I wasn't like extremely heavy on him earlier, so it's like you're catching up on a guy in a range where you don't like the other options as much. It's definitely a little trickier otherwise, but like, man, Daniel's 4th round, like I'm still very much in on that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely in on that too. But I do think I've been naturally trying to get the Hampton one in there for sure. That's a really good point.
Like my order of operations in round 3 has basically been Trey McBride, Omari and Hampton, either a huge slider on one of the wide receivers I like if Garrett Wilson falls to 33 or whatever, and then elite quarterback has been kind of like how I've been trying to do it, just because I had so much of the wide receivers, and I'm now like, I don't feel as strongly about it as I guess I think I did.
Yeah, mine would be about the same. I do prioritize a little bit of Mike Evans because I do like the Baker price tag, and I do prioritize a little bit of Kyron because I think the market might just be flat wrong with the volume share. But I am pumping the brakes a little bit based on the Stafford back stuff. Like the Stafford back stuff, we could look back and be like, yo, why were we ever worried? Or we could look back and just be like, oh, they were resting a vet who has perennial back issues since he was 23 years old. Or we can look back and be like, yeah, he's 37-year-old who had perennial back issues for years. Why the fuck were we still drafting his weapons, right?
Oh yeah. No, that was on the Swolecast. We had one of the prompts today, which was like, what injury situation in hindsight could reshape the season? And I'm like, I thought it's Stafford. Like if stuff goes south for Stafford, that's 3, top 40 fantasy assets there. All right, we're gonna pick here at 5:11. We are on the clock. I would be good with Connor or Kamara here to get a second running back and then punt the wide receiver 3 discussion.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. You pick between the two. I think I would probably lean Connor though.
Yeah, the only thing we are stacking up some week 8 buys, 3 of our first 5 picks, but again, nothing too concerning there. Let's grab Connor. So the team so far: Jayden Daniels, Achane, Connor, Brian Thomas, and JSN. And this is now a spot here too at 6-2 where this is flat enough at wide receiver that I don't mind just pulling up Debo here to stack with Daniels, unless you feel strongly about one of these other guys.
No, I'm good with it. I've kind of been doing like the Olave or Shaheed on a lot of teams just because I think there's a chance they're both mispriced, but I kind of just do one of them. So this does open the door for a stack, and then we could maybe do Shaheed in the future here. That's actually unfortunate that the Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey were gone at that spot, because I do really like this backside of the board on the right-hand side where you can get at least one of them, sometimes 2 of them together, and just have a bit of a ceiling shot opposed to the Connor play.
For sure. Yeah. Jacob and I, not Jacob, sorry. Kyle Dvorak and I on Best Ball Breakfast, we had a team where I think we went Puka, Brian Thomas, like Evans Worthy, I think was our start from this same spot. And then just double tapped Henderson and Harvey at the 5-6 turn. And that's like, I think 0 RB is really tough to pull off this year in this landscape, but those 4 elite wide receivers from the right side of the board, and then you get Harvey, Henderson, that's almost as close to where it's like you feel good about passing on a running back in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah, for sure. I've been really buying the Henderson one. Maybe it's a little skewed because of the Batch Bros Brawl, and I kind of just vault him and Harvey up to be my 5th running back and then cap it there a lot. But I've been really trying to get some in my life here, and it's interesting to just see that he's flipped Harvey, whether that's just camp buzz or overall offensive bullishness around that team. But yeah.
So we got Daniels with Debo, we got Brian Thomas, we got JSN, we got Achane and James Conner. As a reminder for people who aren't familiar with this contest, so this is the second Husky they dropped. It is a $40 buy-in here, 11,232 entrants. The format is 3 of 12 advance out of round 1, which is relatively unique. Almost all of these other contests are 2 of 12. Then you get a 2 of 8 in week 15 there, in a 1 of 6 in week 16. So very small pods, relatively speaking, but then you bounce back up to a 117 seat final. So sometimes we see slightly bigger week 15, 16 pods and a smaller week 17 final. This one has the small 15, 16 pods with the bigger final. So definitely, the order of importance, I would say here is like round 1, regular season, then week 17, then 16, and then 15. Obviously the 2 of 8, the least important as far as what you would be prioritizing.
Yeah, good memory reset, because not all these contests are created equal, right? Just good to reacquaint yourself with the format every time.
Yup. Yeah, it's it's easy to gloss over it there as well. And so I do try to consciously, like, there will be, BBMs and some of the other like super top heavy ones where I'll shoot the moon more with fragile builds. Whereas these, I do think being balanced, getting a little running back heavy, getting an elite at one of those positions can be nice. Speak of the devil here, our guy Aaron Jones. We could grab him as the best available running back. There's also Downs here, Hawkinson as well. Anything you like?
Let's do the Jones pick.
Yeah. Jones is the third here. The drafter behind us has 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers. We have Brian Thomas, JSN, and Debo. He does grab Downs. I think Shakira and Mooney are still pretty tough to draft at these prices. So if we did go receiver, you're kind of looking at Higgins and Pittman. Hawkinson obviously pairs with Jones. He's dealing with a little injury of his own right now. Pittman goes. So I would say,
yeah, I would take Hawker
Higgins.
Higgins. Yeah, Hawker Higgins for me. Hayden's coming on the show tomorrow. I'm going to ask him about his love for Jayden Higgins because it's not a guy that I've had a lot of yet. And okay, all right, let's do it.
Let's do it. I think this room has been pretty wide receiver thirsty, and we're about to enter that stretch where I don't really like any of the picks. So I'd rather kind of kick that. I like Hawk, but again, when I do those 2v2s and you see Goddard and Ferg, and we mentioned Cade. I think I'd just rather get the wide receiver there right now.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Yeah, Higgins has just been a guy who's just like, he's just lived here. And nobody really talks about him on their streams. Nobody really talks about him on their shows. There was a little bit of hype before the draft, but everybody was just kind of like, yeah, he's probably like wide receiver 3 or 4 in this class. And, there were reasons to like him, but like he's never got like the big stamp of approval and big, I don't know. The only thing anybody ever says about him is he's a big body and he would fit nicely on the other side paired with Nico. And that's just kind of like all anyone ever says about him. And I have no idea how to feel about him. So I'm interested to pick Hayden's brain. I don't know. Is it a guy that you draft very frequently?
I have a decent amount. I mean, this is just my BBM exposures here via the Draft Caddy. I'm at 9.1% in BBM. I think maybe slightly higher in non-BBM. So, nothing uber bullish there. I think you are paying a little bit of a premium. He was a prospect a lot of people liked, got the landing spot people wanted, also was getting like rave reviews early on at camp. So like we think about like the rockiness of, some of these rookie reports, injuries, burden, or like playing behind Tank Bigsby in Tootin's case, yada, yada. Like it's been a clean summer for Higgins. Like it's just been steady going, really no concerns. I think it's like slightly pricey, maybe in a vacuum, but I certainly see the like T Higgins to Nico's chase for Jayden Higgins in this offense. I could see him, and maybe it takes him, half the season to get up to that point, but I think the talent and the setup is pretty clean for him.
Yeah, I would push back in terms of the reporting stuff that like we just don't get anything really out of like certain teams, right? And the Texans being one of them. And I was comparing it to like the Patriots, where it's like every single Patriots wide receiver is like either scrutinized or hyped to death, and the Texans, like nobody even gives a fuck, so they don't report on them, kind of thing. So it's a tricky for me. Like I don't know why nobody cares or whatever, or doesn't report on them. They're just a smaller market kind of deal.
There was because I've been catching up on Coach Speak Index, and the one I had read the other day, August 1st, from offensive coordinator Nick Caley. Higgins is mature behind his years. He's a pro. He has the right demeanor. He's in here all of the time. That kind of language is good too.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here. We could do like an Ayuk here. No, Ayuk just goes.
I mean, you could do the slot demon and set up the double too if you want that.
Oh, I like that call. Let me see if I can get that in time. We did. Yeah, I like that. Getting Christian. You just said slot demon too. I didn't finish it, but that is going to be a swear jar. I said Christian. Right after you said slot demon. So we don't have any quarterbacks, or no, we have Daniel. So we're good there.
Daniels, yeah.
The guy I've been pulling up here, and I starred him. I've been pulling up Spears.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I know
I
you're a
like
Pollard
Sharps.
guy, but the Spears stuff has been
Yeah.
continuous drumbeat on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here for it. I do the Sharps over Spears stuff just because even though everything's been super bullish about Ken Walker, it's also just been, he's been sidelined for 4 days now. So there's also that with Ken Walker all the time, right? And then everything that's being reported is 13 straight practices where Ken Walker has not been present. It's just Sharps' backfield, like all by himself kind of deal. So I still like that as a contingent play in that range, probably a little more than Spears, but I'm willing to change my mind.
So, though, I guess one thing too, I think about, and that is interesting about Kenneth Walker right now, and could that door be opened sooner rather than later? I just think the contingent upside for those guys is like very similar. Like no Pollard, boom, Spears, no Sharps, boom, or sorry, no Walker, boom, Sharps. But based on how the Titans are talking like over and over again, and I know they said a lot of similar stuff last year, but it's just like every single press conference they're talking about, we want both of these guys. This is a 50-50 split. Tajay Spears, this is the quote, had an unbelievable offseason in terms of his energy, his effort, his clarity, yada, yada. I'm really excited to see what he can bring to us this year. I just think there's a little more room for standalone value with Spears in addition to the massive contingent stuff.
Yeah. We'll fight
but
you on that.
You could say, hey, if Mike who we got? Yeah, Mike McDonald is going to run the shit out of the ball in Seattle with Darnold there, and there's going to be standalone value for Sharps too. Like I would buy that.
Yep.
I just think I'm very excited about the Titans offense is one thing I realize when I'm on the clock in drafts.
They're a very easy backstack candidate, and you always have outs with them. They kind of feel like last year's Panthers, where like nobody really wants them. They're completely underpriced, and they can give you like 5 to 6 usable weeks at the tail end of the season if things go right. And things went wrong for the Panthers in a decent way last year, and they still had a really strong finish in the last like 6 weeks and gave you usable scores, in particular Bryce Young, despite him getting benched. So, I mean, Cam Ward probably has a much longer leash than Bryce Young did even last year. So why not?
Yep. Let's see if if Trevor Lawrence makes it back to us, we have him with Brian Thomas. We also have the double stack with Stroud. Do you have a preference there? Knowing that, I think both work pretty equally. I will say, should we take Tyler Warren here first as our first tight end?
Because as long as the guy on the end doesn't have like Nico and Hunter.
Yeah, doesn't have either of them. So I say we get because with Daniels, we only need one.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
And Warren at pick 131 is just like an uber jam.
Yes, I fully agree with you. Yeah. I've been really getting a lot of them, especially in the Badge Bros Brawl as your tack on second tight end, because I've been doing a lot of the early tight end stuff.
Dude, I didn't realize Stroud had gone at 129.
Right in front of us? Oh,
right in front of us. The fucking sidekick hadn't updated
lagged
yet.
It.
And I did. And then Lawrence goes. But again, it's not the end of the world on a Daniels team.
No. We can leave the light on for our guy too.
We could do Tootin with Brian Thomas. We could do Ray Davis. We could do Goddard or Ferguson. What do you want?
I like Goddard or Ferg.
All right, let me. Can I get it in time? Ooh, look at these nimble fingers today. Goddard and Tyler Warren is like an awesome tight end pairing there.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's something that I've done a lot, especially when I mean, I just find myself doing these same patterns, but they feel so comfortable right now. Like this round 9, 10, 11 or 10, 11, 12 of like 2 tight ends and a quarterback in there. And then just being like, yeah, sometimes I add a third, or sometimes I backstack, 2 quarterbacks on top of that or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is just a bad run out for us there in that obviously the Nico drafter took Stroud, which makes sense. And then it happened to be that the drafter behind us did not have any quarterbacks and then did a little Lawrence Etienne pairing there. So I don't know.
We're gonna snipe him right back. Don't worry.
What do you think about that? Like, in hindsight, what would you rather have, getting that stack or a 20 pick value on our first tight end, which is obviously more of a need than quarterback?
I'd rather have Warren.
I think that's where I'm at too. I'm trying to decide, am I coping because we got sniped? But I actually think Warren at 131 as your first tight end is a pretty big gift.
Man, what if Warren just gets 15 carries this year as well, and he just does like this like little ass Taysom Hill impression?
A little ass, yeah,
little ass in terms of the role, like because Taysom got like 7 carries a game, but like, yeah, no, just like he was used in so many creative ways at Penn State. Like, why not just run that back?
Pitch says, would you stop at 2 tight ends with this start? I think we definitely could. I don't think it would be crazy. I also, though, would be very interested in Zach Ertz with Daniels as a third on this one. Yeah, so it is interesting.
Just to answer the question, I think with elite quarterback, I would lean going and tacking on a third, most likely in the last round. Like, even if it was just like something like a Ben Sinnott stack or something like that, because I traditionally speaking only throw, I just throw 5 at the onesies most of the time, given the way we put draft capital, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of leaning to taking Ward here at 155, pairing him up with Spears, and then like you said, we also have way more backstack options if we want.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I would take Anthony Richardson. But that's
we still can. I don't think it's mutually exclusive on
the guy on our right's going to take him because he has two of the Indy pass catchers.
I think, John, I got to say, I think it's too fancy to take Anthony Richardson over Cameron Ward on a team where you have Spears and no Colts.
I'm down with it. I respect that.
I mean, the thing,
my vengeful soul.
I see, trust me, I see the upside for Richardson and stuff, but it's just like, if you can get a 17 game starter who also has upside, do you need to take on the risk of the guy who is probably a smart bet to start around 8 or 9 games this year?
No. Yeah. And especially when
that is true. I did forget we have Tyler Ward. You should have pushed back on that part.
Well, we got Io Minor in our back pocket too. Good medicine hat boy.
Yes. We are back on the clock here. Do you want to do like Eckler with?
I'd rather do Braylon Allen.
Okay. Even
I'd
with
rather
Jayden?
take. Yeah, like I'd rather take like the more contingent upside back. Well, why would it matter with Jayden?
Oh, Eckler.
Like you just like the Eckler correlation more?
Oh, I'm always a pro team level correlation there. I almost always break ties. I mean, I think it's a good point about like, what do you win with Eckler versus what do you win with Braylon? But whenever it's close for me, you don't think there's correlation between Jayden Daniels and Eckler?
I think there definitely is. Yeah. I mean, like, what? If you just had to project it right now, like 2.8 receiving touchdowns this season?
Well, I think it's the double whammy. Like, you get the receiving, he's going to catch a few balls, so you get the direct. But then I also just think when this team smashes, you get almost like, it's obviously not as clean as like Barkley and Hurts or whatever, but I think there's going to be touchdowns available for both Eckler and Daniels in games where I just want to bet on this offense.
Okay. Yeah, there's one player we could still bet on it with.
Yes. No, I know. And that's another, it's one thing I've been thinking about in drafts where it's like, I like getting some running backs early, but I want to also leave some slots open late because the funnest and best picks late in drafts right now are all the rookie running backs.
Yeah. Especially as we get clarity, especially as we get, see it with our own eyes, first couple games of preseason here.
Here is the team so far. Jayden Daniels, Cameron Ward, Achane, James Conner, Aaron Jones, Tajay Spears, Braylon Allen, Brian Thomas, JSN, Debo Higgins, and the slot demon, and then Tyler Warren and Goddard. I think this is a very strong team. Although Charlie says I'm not letting John play his game with Nezgod. Hate to see it. Wow. Here's what's going to happen though. Normally what we do is, so John will go do a Husky on his account, sometime in the next day or two, and we'll each have 50%. So then John can run amok when I'm not around, and he can send back an Anthony Richardson at pick 141 team or something.
Damn right. Well, I don't know. I made the case the other day. Like, I think there's the two best asymmetrical bets at the quarterback position this year are Dak Prescott and Anthony Richardson. But that might just be like way too bullish on Anthony Richardson.
Who was the first one?
Dak. Just relative to like the space he goes in. Like the floor is so high and then the ceiling is like top 5 QB.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Richardson. I like Dak a lot, but I do wonder, does he separate? Let's see here. We are back on the clock. I'm fine with like a Knoll or a De'Ami Brown.
Let's do Keenan.
Yeah.
Let's do Keenan or De'Ami.
Let's do Keenan first.
Okay. He's got Lawrence, so he might do the De'Ami thing, but like Keenan's just flat out mispriced if he signs with the Chargers tomorrow.
Oh yeah. No, he's jumping up, 3.5 rounds, 4 rounds, pretty quick.
Yeah.
Quarterback stuff I think we're probably good. Running backs, there's some fun stuff.
I wouldn't like turn my nose up at doing like Sam Darnold plus JSN, but
oh, I did forget about that. But yeah.
I'm actually kind of fine with it unless you want to do like Woody Marks or something.
I was literally just going to say Woody or Taj Brooks.
We got 2 Houston pieces already, so if you want to do the Houston level bet, do it with Mark.
Yeah. Yeah, we missed out on JCM, which was a bummer. He went at 172, but getting Woody, and we'll just have another Texan stack here without the quarterback. So yeah, we go Keenan, Woody there. We got a 2.662. So in good shape there. Yeah. And Ertz had also gone. But we could potentially do Chig as a tight end 3 as well, which I like. And then probably one more. It's either 2 wide receivers in like Chig or 1 wide receiver in Chig, or 2 wide receivers would probably be my gut.
Yeah. I think one of the wide receivers can come from the Titans, and then we can just do 2 wide receivers to close.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Warren Goddard, I think we could at these prices. I think we could live with that 2 tight end room. Noah has been asking you, John, your thoughts on QB battles at the end of drafts. Russell Wilson and Dart. I think we know where John stands on Richardson and Daniel Jones, Shuck and Rattler, Cleveland, WTF.
Yeah, the Cleveland one's really interesting with like the Huntley signing. Like that's just like, wow, everybody is just so hurt right now that nobody has an arm to throw with. That's kind of just bearish in general. I also read something yesterday that like Deshaun Watson trending in the right direction from his injury. Like that we could find that QB room, just have like 4 different guys start like 3+ games this year, and it just be completely irrelevant and useless as is. So I haven't drafted any of them all year. If you gun to my head, I would say Flacco as like an advance rate 3rd QB push through. But no, thank you. Russell Wilson is the guy that I've drafted more. I wasn't huge on Dart just in general, but like he definitely has the higher ceiling of the bunch. So I drafted Russell Wilson like once or twice as a 3rd quarterback, and Dart is literally just that, a Dart for me. A-Rich is my favorite pick at the quarterback position on the board. I don't see a huge difference between him and Justin Fields right now. So I just make that bet. Yeah. 100 picks
all
later.
Those guys feel like very format specific to me.
Yeah.
I've done some Russell Wilson in Eliminator as a QB3. I try to only do dart and like BBM and big puppy style stuff where I'm like, I want that unique upside quarterback out that's likely probably only going to start the final few weeks of the season. I would prefer to be avoiding that. Done a little Shuck, but man, I think that bet is starting to change a little bit. There's a lot of Rattler talk. Even today, it's just like Shuck having a very bad camp. Like I think I'm cooling a little bit on the Shuck is a really good bet to start 17 games. Like I don't know if I feel as strongly about that as of today.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Underhill, man. Like he's like one of the most trusted guys. Yeah, let's make this pick.
I'm good with like Royals or just ripping it in on the Texans with Knoll. Or we also talked about doing Lockett. Does this team need Lockett? It might be.
Yeah, I think we need like a little bit of floor with Keenan Allen's not even on a football team yet. So yeah, I think I would have said Io Manor, but on this specific roster, Lockett's better.
And then I think we lost out on Chig, but Cade is still here as well. And actually he goes. At this point, I probably just don't mind going with an 8th wide receiver. What do you think?
Yeah, I would lean that way. I mean, Theo Johnson's a lot of fun. I like him. But what happens if we scroll at the wide receiver position here?
We could just double. I don't mind doubling and going all in on Titans.
But yeah, let's do it. Why not?
I think small field too. Like if Ward hits and we don't have any of the young guys, right? That doesn't feel as great. So might as well.
Yeah, I mean, how much different a bet is Royals than Io Manor from like just a raw talent standpoint? Like obviously you'd probably rather bet on in isolation, you'd rather bet on the Kansas City offense, but given the context of our roster, it's probably like really similar. There's some interesting scrolls right now. Like the Ray McLeod one, they're just kind of is getting vaulted up because of the maybe AC joint. Deontay Johnson, we just, talked shittily about that quarterback room, but he's kind of low-key been flashing and flashed at the beginning of last year.
Albright was tweeting about Vele again today. That's one where, again, I think it's very team specific, right? Like there's some of these teams where you do a hyper fragile build, you have 3 running backs early, blah, blah, blah. Like guys like Vele, Lockett, obviously, who we just took. Like sometimes you need that. Sometimes you have teams where it's like Vele's not going to make sense as your 7th wide receiver when you took, 5 in the top 100. Which is kind of funny because on the Broncos, I feel like there is like you could split it. It's like if I want the like pure, uncut, raw upside, give me Troy Franklin. If I just like need a guy on the field, like give me Vele.
Yep, fully agree with that assessment. Tesla goes there too. Like he looked pretty good in the preseason game I was watching.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
People were making the Puka comps of like just winning over the middle of the field because those were his 2 or 3 receptions over the middle of the field.
Yep. All right, let me recap this team, and then John, let the people know what you guys going to roll some MLB for everybody right after this?
Yeah, you guys will get funneled over naturally. I've put all the shows up for the week here. A little bit of a weird week because I won't be here on Friday yet again, but I will do a pre-record of the baseball stuff for everybody then. That'll be members only. Tomorrow, Hayden's going to be joining the show, and then I'll do members only baseball. So you're going to get double dip from me today, tomorrow, and maybe Friday as well. So tons of stuff coming you guys' way. But generally speaking, after Off and On the Clock, it's a members only show after this, but just seeing as though there was no show yesterday, everybody who's here is going to get funneled over to that. And that's going to be free to everyone today for doing a little dinger sweating and then doing today's baseball slate with the Blue Jays at Coors.
There you go. Take advantage of the free stream. As far as for me, I have tomorrow, we're going to have the Best Ball Bash and the randomizer. Randomizer guest is Lawrence Jackson, aka Lord Don't Lose from NBC and Roto World. Super entertaining guy. Has been on the randomizer 2 years ago. Excited to bring him back. Last time he dropped an absolute banger of a song about Kyle Pitts. So we'll see what he's got up
How
for us.
it's what you do for me.
What you do for me. It's still in my head. And then Best Ball Bash, one of you guys. And speaking of Bash, it's going to be a double Bash kind of day. I'm moving up after dark to Wednesday because I'm going to be gone Thursday through Sunday again. So I'm going to squeeze that in, and I'm going to do it Bash style. So if you miss out or can't do the afternoon Bashes, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, that's going to be for YouTube members on my channel. But here's the team, John. Jayden Daniels, Cameron Ward, Devon Achane, James Conner, Aaron Jones, Tajay Spears, Braylon Allen, and Woody Marks, Brian Thomas, JSN, Debo Samuel, Jaden Higgins, Slot Demon, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, Alec Iomanor, and then Tyler Warren and Dallas Goddard. I think a pretty good team, man.
Yeah, on the sucks or fucks scale, Pete, this one is definitely trending in the fucks direction. Gonna have some olds in there, so it's not gonna get the love from the crowd of, the big sexy there with like Keenan Allen, not a team, Tyler Lockett, and the Slot Demon. Like, people don't click on teams with those names on them and be like, wow, this team fucks. But yeah, I think it's very intelligently built. I think it's a strong contender. It's also something that we haven't done a ton of with the elite quarterback stuff, and then kind of like forcing the issue on a secondary stack that's a little bit of a thinner bet. So it turned out nicely. Yeah.
Agreed. Fun drafting with you guys, Lazy Larry, everybody else who was in this draft, Hawkberg, and who else? Ben was in here, Eggers. Good stuff, fellas. We will be back with Nez next week for our typical stuff. And I should say, like, we still have to huddle here, but often on the clock, once the season starts, we'll be moving back to Fridays. We got to nail down like the exact time, but it'll be Friday afternoons after the block party show. So man, it's going to be very fun to flip that switch. There's nothing better than that. Getting ready for that Friday show. The news is starting to trickle in and starting to talk some daily ball, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, that's kind of our sweet spot. Although we do a very good job of this, in my estimation, that is kind of our bread and butter there, Pete, is being the only show in town to go full deep dive on the slate for a Underdog weekend.
Yep. So we will, I sit here in the StreamYard hopper and I see the little Pick'em sizzler here. We will be slopping it up, spicing it up in the very near future. All right, go watch some baseball. Good luck to all you dinger heads, and we'll see you guys next time on Off and on the Clock.